everyone. Thank you again for joining me for another amazing episode on the Wholeness Project. This is your friend again, your coach, and I'll say, your national certified counselor, Joel Osebo. I'm a relationship and management, a relationship and mental health coach. Is another amazing week for us to just discuss a subject that is of a troubling concern to us in our world today. And like today again, I will be sharing with us, like I said, another amazing subject. Today we'll be looking at burnout is not a badge of honor and how you can reclaim your rest and your purpose. You can tell the issue of burnout is a big one today in our world. I mean, it is a big one. A lot of us are burning out as a result of what we are dealing with in our relationships, in our marriages, in our families, in our work. We are all burning out. We are tired. We're stressed out by a lot of things that are going on with us, within and without. And so today, my goal is to share a lot of strategy that can help us overcome those struggles and challenges of being burnt out by the issues of life. Sometimes many of us think that burning out is a badge of honor. It's not. It actually is breaking down our systems, breaking down our ability to be very, very productive. And so, as usual, I always introduce myself. I have a master's in clinical mental health counseling. I'm a national certified counselor. I'm a coach and wellness educator. I host the Wholeness Project live every Monday, 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, with focus on family, relationship, mental health, and spirituality. And you can reach me on our website, joelosebo.com or fgicoaching.com. You can send us an email at joel.osebo@fragranceofgrace.org, and also you can give us a call and we will be here to walk with you through whatever you might be dealing with in the area of your relationship and mental health. And let's take a quick look at our remit for today, what we're going to be covering in terms of our subject. We'll be looking at the burnout crisis in 2026. We'll look at what burnout is really about. We're going to look at the types and stages of burnout. We'll look at what burnout does to you, the root causes and hidden drivers of burnout. Then the CBT, what I do all every time is I try to bring in some strategies, some interventions and techniques that is going to help us in the recovery of this, in the recovery process for every subject of discussion. Then we'll look at faith-based integration for those who like to, kind of integrate their spirituality in their recovery process. Then I'll share what I call a 7 days practical action plan that you can take in dealing with this issue. So I want to encourage you, if there's someone out there that's going through a lot of stress from relationship, from marriage, from job, from just life, you can share the link on YouTube, Joel Sebo, on Facebook, Joel Sebo one, then on Instagram. They can join us in this awesome subject of how we can deal with the issue of burnout. I always want to go from a statistics point of view. When you look at what is going on in terms of the crisis by the numbers, burnout is not a weakness. It is the predictable result of sustained demand without adequate recovery. And it is now a global emergency. What I'm saying with all of this is this: the things we deal with, what leads to burnout is actually life's necessities. The things that leads to our being burnout are the things we naturally we want to do. But when we don't rest, when we don't take time to chill or take some pauses in the process of trying to meet our daily responsibilities in our families, with work, with spirituality, with our mental health, all of these things will lead to burnout. Looking at it from a statistics point of view, 76% of US workers experience some level of burnout. So that is over half of the populations, and this can be traced to the world globally. Over $438 billion is lost globally. I mean, this was lost in 2024 due to diminished productivity from poor well-being. So when people are burnt out, it diminishes productivity in family, in business, in career, and this is the number. Our productivity has numbers tied to it. Then 3 times more burnt out employers are more likely to be actively job searching. When people are burnt out, they look for another opportunity. 89% of burnt out calls come from presenteeism, not absence. People show up depleted. We show up depleted in our relationships. We show up depleted in our businesses. We show up depleted in every area of our life. And it's not that we're not present, but we are depleted. Then 52% of employees felt burnt out in the past year, specifically because of their job. That is more than half of the world of the population in the United States and globally. Then 21% of US employees believe their employer genuinely cares about their well-being. Your well-being matters. For you to show up, for you to be present in your family, in your relationship, for your mental health, your spirituality, you need to be present. And when we are depleted, when we are burnt out, there's no way we can show up for those who are counting on us, or for us to show up for ourselves in the things that matters to us the more. Now let's take a quick nose dive into what I want us to look at. What is the definition of burnout? What does it mean? The 3 dimensions and why it is misunderstood. According to World Health Organization, burnout is a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized by 3 dimensions, and it is not a mood, a bad week, or personal feeling. It's because of, I mean, the stress that we experience at work, they lead to burnout. One of the first dimensions of burnout is this: it is exhaustion. Energy, when we talk about exhaustion, we're talking about energy depletion. What happens at this level is a profound sense of physical, emotional, and cognitive depletion. So you are physically drained, you are emotionally drained, and you are mentally drained. You're not just tired. People have a bone deep emptiness that sleep doesn't fix and weekend doesn't restore. So what are the signs of exhaustion? One, waking up exhausted regardless of how I slept, dreading the start of every day, feeling like you have nothing left to give. Anytime these signs are showing up in your life, you know that you are dealing with exhaustion. You are depleted, and there is your body, your emotions, your mind is telling you it's time for you to sit down, to reset, and to repurpose, so that you don't allow the stress of life, the stress of work to drain your productivity. Another dimension of burnout that we have here is what we call cynicism or cynicism. It means detachment and depersonalization. Anytime people become cynical, you know, they become, there's emotional distancing from work, people, and purpose. When people are feeling burnt out, they begin to detach, they begin to depersonalize. The heart that once cared stops caring. People become problems. Calling calling becomes a job. Vision becomes exhaustions. What are the signs of cynicism? It is going through the motion with no inner life. It is resetting the people you once served, resenting the people you once served with joy, disconnecting from meaning and mission. Friends, anytime you begin to feel these emotions, these signs of being cynical, you are burning out. It is time for you to take a rest. It is time for you to re-examine the things, the activities that you are caught up on. The third dimension of exhaustion is this, is inefficacy. This is about reduced sense of accomplishments. The belief that nothing you do makes a difference regardless of actual output. A crushing sense of inadequacy and futility that undermines identity and self-worth. What are the signs of this burnout? Is a feeling of incompetent despite evidence of success. There is doubt in whether your work even matter, whether work even matters. Then inability to feel proud of accomplishment. Anytime you begin to feel these emotions and these signs, you are burnt out. and it is time to rewind. It is time to exhale. It is time to take a major rest in your life so that you can be very productive. Now, let's look at another angle again about the stages of burnout. One thing we must know about burnout is this: it doesn't arrive suddenly, it builds in plain sight. So, the things that causes you and I to burn out, that causes people to burn out, is in plain sight. It is what we do every day, what we see every day. So most people don't know they are burnt out until they are already in stage 4 or 5. I want us to learn these stages so you can determine where you are and begin to work at, making sure you don't get down to that stage 3, stage 4, or stage 5. The first stage is what we call the honeymoon stage. At this stage, it is you have this expression of high energy, high satisfaction. So there's high idealism and enthusiasm. You feel called, you're capable, and you're unstoppable. Boundaries feel unnecessary. The work is the reward. This is where the seeds of burnout are planted. When things seem to be going on, things are very sweet. We are caught up with the vision. We're energized. We just want to go all out to get things done. Sometimes we forget that if we're not careful and mindful at that honeymoon stage, we're actually building up the signs of burnout. So, what are we expected to do at this level? You must watch. You watch out for these following things: skipping rest, ignoring limits, saying yes to everything. Because we are high, we have that high energy, the tendency for us to skip rest, to ignore limits, or saying yes to everything comes up. So the second stage of burnout is the onset of stress. So this is where stress begins to build up. Energy dipping, satisfaction wavering. So some days feel harder than others. You notice fatigue, but you dismiss it. Occasional anxiety, sleep disruption, or irritability appears. You keep pushing, it will get better. You must watch when you begin to feel at this stage. You must watch for increased caffeine, declining social connection, work blending into rest. The third stage of burnout is chronic stress. Here, consistently low resentment building. Here, you begin to feel low and you begin to build resentment. Look at what we have in stage 1, the honeymoon stage. You have great ideas, you have that capability, you feel unstoppable, you feel you can take on the world. But if you are not mindful of the signs of stress, by the time you get to the chronic stress, exhaustion becomes the normal thing. Procrastination increases. You feel increasingly resentful. You become cynical. People, or they become apathetic. People, physical symptoms emerges: headaches, gut issues, tension. What you need to watch for at this stage 3 of chronic of being burnt out is numbing behaviors, anger or withdrawal, neglecting personal needs. We got to be very careful. We have to be very, very careful. Stage 4 is the burnout stage. Here, you're fully depleted, you are disconnected, you are doubting self. So the war comes up. Here, nothing feels meaningful. You feel hollow, helpless, or hopeless. You're showing up feels impossible. Errors increases. Relationships suffer. This is the crisis stage. When people begin to feel this way, when they are burnt out, it's a crisis stage. Here, you want to watch for inability to complete simple tasks, physical illness, crying without knowing why. When people get to the stage where they are depleted, disconnected, self doubt comes into it, or they begin to self sabotage themselves, they are in the burnout stage. Then the last stage, the fifth stage of burnout, is the habitual burnout. Here, burned out becomes identity. So burnout becomes embedded into your life and personality. Chronic sadness, mental and physical illness, and total emptiness. This is the stage where people disappear from everything. At this stage, you want to watch out for social withdrawal, sense of meaninglessness, depression, health collapse, and so many other mental health struggles that comes up. That's why it's important you pay attention to the stressors in your life. Don't ignore the signs. They need to set limits. They need to rest. They need to learn to say no. Sometimes I struggle with that. I just want to say yes to help, to support, to assist. But there are times you need to say no. Because if you don't say no, you are piling up those stressors that could lead to lots of burnout in your life. Okay, let's look at what I have here, how burnout impacts all four pillars of wholeness in your life. For your mental health, if we allow stressors and we get burnt out, these things happen. Anxiety, depression, and PTSD like symptoms become persistent. Cognitive impairment, people begin to have brain fog, memory gaps, poor decisions. There's chronic cynicism, rewires the brain, rewards and motivation system. So whatever people do is not what they really want to do. They're just cynical. Burnout and clinical depression are clinically overlapping, and both are real. 37% report being so overwhelmed it impairs daily function. In other words, when burnout becomes a norm, or when the people have become chronically burning out, you know what happens? It impairs their daily function. So they are not able to function the way they used to. They begin to struggle. They begin to feel overwhelmed in life. How does being burnt out impact your family? Emotional unavailability. You arrive home without nothing left because you are depleted. So when you get home, you really don't want to, you don't have that emotional bandwidth for your kids, for your spouse. Then shutting fuse. Children absorb the overflow of occupational stress. So what happens? You begin this what we call displacement. Your pains, your disappointment, you begin to push it onto your members of your families. Partners carry the unseen weight of a depleted spouse. Presence without attention. They're in body but not in spirit. So you're physically there, but your mind, your emotion, everything about you is caught up with the stressors. Burnout parents raise anxious children who learn that love has limit. This is not good for the next generation. When it comes to our relationship, this is the impact that burnout has. Social withdrawal. The burnout person disappears from community. Inability to receive care and find becomes a survival script. Resentment toward others who appear to be thriving or not working. It's as a result of burnout. Neglect of friendships and support system that would actually help. Then burned out employees are 63% more likely to take sick days. So it affects productivity in the workplace. Then spirituality, spiritual dryness, prayer feels empty, worship feels hollow when people are burnt out. When the work is the calling, burnout can feel like losing God. Pastors, ministers, and faith workers are among the highest risk groups. I can tell you that. Then performance-based faith accelerates burnout. I must do more for God. That's when we tell people it's time for you to take some rest. Then burnout is often a divine interruption, an invitation to stop and receive. So you see that as this subject we're talking about today affects every area of our lives. When we are burnout, when we appear, when we show up depleted in the spaces where our strengths, our ideas, our creativities are needed, it's not productive, it's not profitable for us. And from a spiritual angle, when you are feeling burnout, it is time for you to take a retreat. It's time for you to rest. It is time for you to say, oh, okay. That's what we won't call counselors impairment. Even as coaches and counselors and therapists and psychologists, it's built in the profession that we should find some time for rest so that we can be very effective. Because when people don't have enough rest, even as therapists, we begin to experience what we call transference or counter transference. And we don't want that. We don't want what is happening to us to be transferred to our clients, or what is happening to our clients to be transferred to us. So it is important that every one of us pay attention to rest so that we don't get burned out. Now, we're going to look at some hidden drivers. Why high achievers, caregivers, and faith leaders are most at risk. Burnout is not caused by hard work. So we're looking at the causes and hidden drivers. It is not caused by hard work. It is caused by misalignment between your values, your limit, and your load. So there's a place of value, there's a place of limit, creating boundaries, and there's a place for your capabilities. When we don't have values that drives us, when we don't have boundaries created, when we don't have the load that we carry, I'm telling you, we are going to cause ourselves lots of issues. This is very important. This is very important for us to be able to create value system, create boundaries, and know what our capability is for us to be able to avoid burnout. The first one is what I call the productivity gospel. Culture worships output and equates business with what? How are you? Answered with busy is a badge. Rest is laziness. Stopping is failure. This lie is deeply embedded in both secular and faith culture. So, in other words, we're saying you are not your output. You are a human being, not a human doing. So, in other words, we should be mindful that the society demands more and more and more and more and more for us. And if we are not careful as we give more, we become burnout. Then the perfectionism and over responsibility. The belief that everything must be excellent and that it is your job to ensure it. Perfectionism drives people past healthy limits and punishes them for every imperfection, creating a circle that never revolves. I'm sure somebody can can really, you can really relate with this. You want everything to be perfect, but when they are not looking as if they are perfect, it becomes imperfect for you, and it creates a circle that never resolves. Perfectionism is not a standard; it is anxiety in suit. So any one of us that is caught up with this, we can work with you, to help you overcome this. Then this what we call number three, the chronic boundary deficit, inability to say no, rooted in fear of rejection, guilt, or believe that others needs override your own. For caregivers and ministry leaders, boundaries feel selfish until they collapse. I tell you, this is real. This is real. We must learn to create boundaries. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. The vessel is not selfish for needing to be refilled. You need to be refilled, especially people who help people, therapists, counselors, pastors, doctors that carry the burdens of others. There is need for rest. Number four, identity fusion with work ministry. When your identity becomes your role, I'm a pastor, parent, nurse, activist, stopping feels like dying. The self has been replaced by the function. This is the highest risk burnout profile. So what we're saying, your role is not you. It is just an assignment, something you're doing for that moment. It should not determine who you are becoming, who you are, because you are not your calling. Your calling is something you steward. It is not on you. Oh, I think I need to hear that for myself too. So this is very vital. It's very vital for every one of us to understand this. Then compassion fatigue for caregivers. The specific exhaustion of those who carry others' pain, professionally or personally. Therapists, nurses, pastors, parents of children with special needs, social workers. Giving without receiving breaks the giver. I want to say that again. Giving without receiving breaks the giver. Compassion fatigue is not a character flaw, it is the cost of caring deeply. Is it wrong for you to care deeply? No. But create time for you to get some rest. Create time for you to be there for you also. Then absence of true Sabbath. Disconnection from the practice of rest is as sacred. Even for believers, Sabbath has become theoretical. The body, mind, and spirit were designed for rhythmic rest. Now running on fumes. God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but to model what we need. Look, all of these drivers, all of these causes, we must pay attention to them so that we don't get burnout. Life is long. I always want to say life is not a sprint, it is a marathon, it's a long journey. For you to get to your destination, your goal, your purpose, your dreams, you need to be healthy, you need to be strong, you need to be productive. And when we are burned out, then we will not be able to achieve those dreams and the goals that we desire for ourselves. Now, now that I've shared the causes, the drivers, the challenges, and all of the struggles there, I want us to look at some tools that can help you and I to, kind of deal with the issues of being fatigued, whether compassion fatigue, you're burning out based on your role. These evidence-based strategies for healing and boundary setting will help you. And there are three modalities I always look at, so you can pick out the one that's going to really work for you. So one of the first one is what I call the cognitive behavioral tools. And one of them is identify burnout beliefs. When you begin to think rest is laziness, I can't stop, everything will fall apart. Look, nothing will fall apart. I think I learned it the hard way. I thought I could cover everybody and help everyone. But I discovered, look, people will always find a way out of their struggles and their challenges. And that gave me rest. You need to kind of identify your burnout beliefs. What are those things you have placed on yourself? You think that if you're not there, it will not happen. It will happen. It will look, it will happen without you being there. It may not be as perfect as you thought it could be. It may even be more better than what you think. So we need to identify those burnout beliefs. Then we have to do what I call cognitive restructuring. You challenge the productivity lie. What evidence support that rest makes me less valuable? Build a new belief. Rest makes me more effective and more human. So change it. Change those negative thoughts into a more constructive one. The behavioral activation. Schedule rest and renewal activities with the same priority as work tasks. So build rest, build retreat, build vacation into what you do. Put them in your calendar, guard them. The behavior of rest precedes the feeling of restoration. And that's so true. Then another tool under the CBT is boundary training. Oh goodness, I am working on this daily. Practice the word no in low stakes situation. No is a complete sentence. Start with one boundary per week. CBT will help you identify the fear underneath every yes you didn't mean. A lot of the time we say yes when we did not mean it. I want you to learn to say no. You might think it hurts the other person, but in reality, it gives you more strength and clarity to be able to be a blessing to the other person. So let's learn those boundary training. Learn to say no. The worst anybody can think of you is the wrong assumption about you. I've come to understand people are going to assume a lot of things about you. You must learn to say no. Then value clarification. Write your top 5 life values. Then audit your schedule. Does your time actually reflect those values? Burnout often means your calendar is owned by someone else priority, and you don't want this to happen. You want to be in control of your calendar. With the CBT tool, it helps you change the way you're thinking about productivity. It helps you think about those belief systems. You think, oh, if you don't rest, then you will not be productive. We need rest. We also need to work. Look, learn to say no. I am learning that. Practice boundary training. Start from little things. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I'm sorry, I might not be able to do this. Or it's a little bit uncomfortable for me now, but I think, can you give me, that's not what I'm practicing. Oh, I might not be able to do it now. Can you give me 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I might be able to come back to it. Learn to say no, because when we say yes all the times, it leads to a lot of chronic stress in our lives, and you don't want to burn out. Another tool here I love to use again with my client is what I call the dialectical behavioral therapy tools. There's what we call radical acceptance. Let it be real to you that you are burnt out. Some of us, we are burnt out. Remember the 5 stages I shared, the 5 stages of stress, of being burnt out. The last one, when burnout becomes a lifestyle, many people don't know that they are burnt out. They look stressed, they look tired, but they still want to keep going on. Learn to tell yourself, I am born out. Accept it. That's radical acceptance. I cannot change it by denying it. A lot of us, we deny that we are burnt out. Acceptance of the current state is the only entry point to genuine change, not defeat. I want us to begin to work on changing the habit of we get so tired and so drained and we want to keep moving on. I'm sure we heard of stories of people who, who slumped. They just died. They died on their chairs. They died in their car because they were burnt out. They couldn't accept it, or they didn't stop. Then there's tip again. This is about physical reset. Temperature, using cold water when you're tired, when you're burning out, when you're stressed. Take a cold bath. Do intense exercise. Like for me, I'll tell you this morning, I've been to the gym already. It's a way of me keeping fit and also learning this habit of rest so that I'm not burnt out. You do pace breathing. You do progressive relaxation. Use this every day. Not only in crisis, your body needs this. Your body needs to rest. Then there's the opposite action. Burnout says isolate. When we are burnt out, one of the things we want to do, we want to withdraw. We have resentment, we're cynical. But instead of you being angry or you withdrawing, do the opposite. Call someone. Burnout says push through. Do the opposite. Stop and rest. Act opposite to every impulse that keeps you depleted. That is the goal. Then build mastery daily. Do one small thing each day that gives you a genuine sense of accomplishment and joy, not related to productivity. Burnout erases identity. Mastery rebuilds it slowly. You want to have, you want to keep your identity. You want to maintain your being, not just your doing. It is when we are caught up with the habit of doing that we get burnt out. When we come get the habit of being, living life the way we should, then we build mastery. Then lastly, on the DBT skill, treat physical illness. Have balanced eating, avoid mood altering substance, have balanced sleep, exercise. These aren't luxuries, they are the floor of sustainable function. What I'm saying, in addition to using the CBT tools, the dialectical behavioral therapy tools can also help you. Exercise is good for you. When you feel tense, when you feel stressed, take some exercise. Take cold bath. Do the opposite actions. When your mind and your feeling, your emotion is telling you, don't go out, don't talk, do the opposite. When your mind is asking you to do something negative, do the opposite. I'm telling you, you're going to find a good rest for your body. And let's look at what the techniques for ACT, acceptance, we call it acceptance and commitment therapy tools. Here, you diffuse from burnout identity. What you need to do here is, I notice I'm having the thought that if I stop, I will fail, I will fall behind, be a failure, let everyone down. This is a thought from a depleted nervous system, not a life sentence. So that you are thinking it doesn't mean it's a life sentence. You need to change it. Then you do what we call value-based reset. Reset is not the opposite of purpose, it is a condition for it. Identify what reset serves. I rest, what rest serves. I rest because I value presence, longevity, and being fully here. That is purpose, not laziness. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. You want to live long, you want to live for the future, you want to live for your family, your relationship, your mental health, your spirituality. You must you must you must learn to see beyond the now. Then psychological flexibility. What do you need to do there? Hold the discomfort of stopping without being controlled by it. I feel guilty resting and I know that rest is right. Both can be true. You don't need to resolve the tension to move forward. You need to let yourself know rest is good for your body. As much as you want to be productive, rest is good for your body. There's what we call the present moment awareness. Burnout lives in the future. What's still on my list? And the past, I should have done more. Presence is the antidote. What I'm saying, we call it mindfulness. Be in the present always. When you're looking at the past or you're looking at the future, they bring a lot of stress that leads to burnout. What is going on with you right now? What is happening to you right now? So, mindful walks, meals, and conversations rebuild the now. So, focus on what is happening to you right now. And it's going to change how a lot of things are panning out for you. Then the last one is committed actions. What is one sustainable action step that honors your values today? Not a grand plan. One thing. Healing from burnout is not dramatic. It's made of small, daily, courageous choices. What I'm saying to us is, I want you to make a choice today. What one choice do you need to make today that is going to guarantee that you don't get burnout? It is important. It might be I just need an hour's sleep. It might be, oh, I need to go out for an exercise. It might be I need to make that phone call. It might be I need a good rest. It might be I need a good retreat. I need a good vacation for myself. Or I need to think about me today. I don't need to carry other people's worries and burdens today. I just need to think about me today. That will help you to break the circle of burnout. Oh, wow. Now, integrating faith base for those who believe in the place of spirituality. The Sabbath is not optional. You can have one day of rest, or you can deliberately create a time for you to have 2 days, 3 days of rest. It is not a sin. It is not a sin. God rested after He created the world, so you too can rest. He built that into the framework of spirituality. I know lots of people, what they do, they can work 6 days and keep one day for rest, either Sunday or Monday or Saturday. So you got to pick a day where you don't need to do anything. Just a time for you to be with family, a time to rest, a time to sleep, a time to read, a time to rejuvenate. It is very, very important. Jesus and withdrawal, a healing rhythm. Jesus had a lot of time that he went to rest. He slept sometimes, even in the boat. So creating time for you to rest, it is not a sin. Elijah's burnt out. The Bible's case study. We know what happened to Elijah. He was burnt out. The only one he thought he was the only one that was serving God. And that led to a lot of depression and distress for him. But God made him understand, look, there are other 7,000 people there. We need rest, especially for those who help people, for pastors. You need rest so that you don't burn out. When we burn out, our assignment goes. It burns out. Then purpose beyond performance. You must understand that our life is not about performance. It's about the assignment. Our assignments are bigger than achievement. So when we integrate this from a faith-based perspective, because sometimes a lot of believers feel if they don't rest, they don't do this, God will not answer them. That's what I call performance-based Christianity. We're trying to serve God, but believers are not spending time with God. It just remind me of the story of Martha and Mary. Martha spent a lot of time preparing meals for Jesus Christ, while Mary was at the feet of Jesus. And Martha came and was angry. Why? Martha is not helping. Mary is not helping me. And you know what Jesus said to him? Huh? He said, Martha, Martha, you worry about a lot of things. Mary has chosen the best part. So creating time to rest is the best position to be. If you want to go the long haul, you want to go the long, to climb those hills in life, we must learn to take rest. And as I begin to wind down this, I've been sharing about some strategies how we can overcome being burnt out. But this slide that I'm showing to you here is your complete burnout recovery. You must take what I say, take your energy audit. You must do what I call the sacred note protocol, the Ophredian rest reading, the weekly Sabbath practice, the somatic recovery walk, the connection prescription, the joy inventory, the professional support. I want to just quickly talk about the joy inventory and the professional support. List 10 things that have brought you joy in the last year, not productivity, not accomplishment. Then ask, how many of these are in my current life? What needs to be reintroduced? Then the professional support. Some burnout is beyond self-care. Therapy, especially CBT and somatic focus approaches, is not the luxury for burnout. It is often the intervention that changes the trajectory. Seek without shame. So in other words, see a therapist, see a coach. And that's what we do here at MGI Solutions Incorporated. Just working with people through issues that have to do with their relationship, with their mental health, with their families, with their spirituality, with their career, just whatever it is that is causing you stress, or we're here to work with you. I want to thank you again for being with me. And as I go on to the last slide, is basically to just let you know that the few last slide before I get to the several content that look, you must create psychological safety first. All sharing is voluntary. This is a room for honesty. This map is going to help you with a lot of group exercise. And so if you need a copy of it, all you just need to do is just send me an email, joel.osebo@fragranceofgrace.org. I take that again, joel.osebo@fragranceofgrace.org. And I'm going to send you these suggested activities and discussions that can help you build a solid, productive life without being stressed out. Then also, this is the 7-day audit that I always recommend that will help you overcome your stress. Healing from burnout is not a sprint. It is a slow, deliberate daily return to yourself and to God. I will be glad to share this with you. Just send me an email. You can also see it on the scroll bar. You can give us a call and we'll just send you information how you can practice this daily. You are not created to be consumed. Right now, a lot of people are being consumed by the stressors of life, impacting their families, impacting their relationships, impacting their marriages, impacting their jobs, their mental health, their spirituality. We are created to be replenished and purposeful. Psalm 23, 2-3 says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. We can be restored. That's what I'm saying. You might be burnt out. You might be stressed from family issues, relationship issues, marriage issues, job issues, business issues, workplace issues, you can be replenished. All of the strategies and interventions and techniques that I've shared, they've helped countless people globally. It will be a great joy for me to work with you. I've been sharing on burnout is not a badge of honor. There is a place for replenishing, there's a place for restoration, there's a place for wholeness. And that's what we do at FGI Solutions. If you want to have a discovery call with us, I just encourage you. You can call the numbers that are scrolling, or you send us an email, or you can go to our website, joel.joelosebo.com, and you can book a discovery call with me. For 30 minutes, we can walk through what you're dealing with and just to see, oh, okay, if we can work together. We have 12 weeks intensive plan. If it's 8 weeks you want, 6 weeks you want, you just want a short therapy sessions or coaching sessions, we will be able to provide that for you. Thank you once again for joining us in this episode. Same time next week, Monday, 9:15 Eastern Time Zone. I'm going to be back on the Wholeness Project to share with us another great resource and tools that can help our mental health, our spirituality, our relationships, our families, and our career. Thank you once again for being with me today. And bye for now.